Got a couple of weeks in Maine. You travel like this.
Jim, I think we're ready.
Always teaching, always just.
So welcome back, everyone. It's on, but it's not. Did you say yellow?
The other one.
The other one. Oh, gotcha.
You can mix herbs or oils. You've got some how you mix them.
We're just waiting for the sound.
Oh, the radio sound.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Hello?
Oh, it's a red one.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Well, welcome back, everyone, to the last presentation that we'll be doing this evening. And that one is entitled Old Mountain Remedies by Health Problems. But before we get to that, we have a drawing that we'd like to do. Has everyone that would like to participate had their name put on a sheet of paper and put into the hat? If you haven't, please raise your hand and we can get someone to come around. Okay, looks like we have everybody then. Okay, so we have a few things that we'd like to give away this evening as gifts.
And we have, thank you. We have lavender essential oil donated by Walt and Mary Lou Cross. We have one of their Old Mountain Remedies, kitchen remedies. And then the Sears Mount Seventh-day Adventist Church has two of a Better Way. These are cookbooks. So we will go ahead and draw one name at a time. And then first we will be doing one of the cookbooks. So I will just randomly reach in here and pick out a name. Do we have a Joe here? Someone with the name Joe? We have a cookbook for you.
Thank you very much.
So the second one is Old Mountain Remedies, and we've drawn the name Marvin Randall.
Thank you.
And the third one is the Better Way of Life recipe book again.
I believe the name is Jane. Do we have a Jane here?
Do you guys both have, are
Yeah,
you in the same
yeah.
family? Okay, we will switch, if you would like
Oh.
the lavender oil,
Sure.
would you prefer that? Yeah, there we go.
Thank
You're welcome. Okay, and the last name we will draw for the cookbook is Pat C, with the last name C. There we go.
So just a couple of things I'd like to mention. Out front, when you walk out the door to your right-hand side, there is a table set up that the Crosses have with some of their DVDs, the essential oils, and they will be selling those, I believe, after the presentation. And as well, we have a love offering basket out there if anyone is so inclined, if they want to give a love offering donation this evening. And once again, let's just have a short word of prayer to invite the Lord to be with us. Dear Heavenly Father, please be with us at this time as we continue to study and learn about the laws of health that you have for us and remedies that may help our bodies. Help us to understand and apply and use this knowledge as you would have us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you, folks.
Someone who's been watching contacted Debbie and said, well, what's that QR code there for? Well, what you can do is you can take your phone and put the camera on and bring up that kind of, make the picture bigger, like you zoom in, and then the QR code will come up and it'll put that little yellow thing, push that little yellow box, and it will take you to our address information. It will have our phone number, our address, our website, our Facebook, our YouTube, our TikTok, all that kind of thing. So you can watch various programs that we've done on videos and that kind of thing. You can contact us. So that's what that's for. And so you can do that, and that will get you a lot more than what we just handed out the business cards. Well, what I'd like to do is cover right now my favorite, let me put this on here, my favorite class, but it's my hardest class because there's so much to cover. There's so much I want to share with y'all. I was in Dallas, Texas doing this back several years ago, and it's 6 hours, and I promise you I'm not going to go 6 hours, but at 6 hours I told the folks, we might need to go home. It was an afternoon class, fortunately. It didn't start at 7 o'clock at night. But it's a lot of fun. And there's so much to cover. There really is. And I'm going to jump through a few things here real fast. And let me cover this first. I've talked about it once or twice this weekend. These are our mountain colors where we are. How do y'all like that? Isn't that pretty? It's, these 8 laws of health are the foundations to health: nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, trusting God, trusting divine power. And we talked about that this morning, the importance of those 8 laws. And so I don't want to go into how to deal with wound care and what to do is, from all kinds of things, without saying we need to do these first. This is the foundation. I don't want to mask and manage with healthy stuff like we used to when I worked in healthcare for 20 years. We masked and managed with pharmaceuticals. I'd like to, let's get to root cause. And many times root cause is where we're not doing those 8 things And you start doing those and diseases go away. We see that all the time, don't we? Yeah, you get people who come to UG Pine, they start implementing those 8 items, and then they start working right. And it's kind of like a car. You change your oil and you grease the joints and you just take care of it like it's supposed to. It's going to start working right. And our bodies are the same way. Again, I'm going to go through these real quick. This is a typical Appalachia of what I would have grown up years ago with. But we went over some of these earlier today, so I won't really go into them. But let's just plumb get into it. Let's go remedies by diagnosis. I like wound care. Wound care is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, there's folks out there that are not getting good wound care, and there's a need for good aggressive wound care. This is a foot. A gentleman who has diabetes. He has neuropathy. He also has osteomyelitis. He's scheduled to get amputated, and his endocrinologist called me and said, well, can you help this foot? Can you help this man? When I worked in healthcare, we probably would have said, yep, I agree. Let's just go ahead and chop that foot off. But can we do something about that? That is in 2 weeks. You can see some filling out there. Again, look at your heel, how cracked open it is there, split open. Look at, we're starting with some good closure there, some good filling out. This is where we are in 4 weeks, and we're ready for a graft. That is fun, y'all. Now, the most fun I ever had when I worked in regular healthcare is I opened a vent unit in Virginia, and we were getting a lot of young people who were in motor vehicle accidents or whatever the injury may have been, and they just weren't aggressive, and they were stuck on vents the rest of their life. And I talked to my team and I said, guys, this is a problem. Can we fix it? And both our medical director, who else do we jump in there? Respiratory therapy and nursing, they both said, yes, we can do something. And we started a ventilator program that was very aggressive, and we started weaning these guys, these young kids who are, 18, 19 years old, that would have been on a vent the rest of their life. And we started weaning them off. I had a lot of fun with that. But I had a lot of fun in this kind of thing. So what did we do? How do we get from here to there? Wound care, number one, what I mentioned was a little while ago, nutrition. Nutrition is huge. You've got to have adequate nutrition to heal the wound. The best thing I have found is to juice the person. Juice the person. It gets in the blood. It's going to be in the blood within 15 to 20 minutes. We're eating food with fiber. It's going to take 2.5 to 5 hours. And this fella has diabetes. We got to address the diabetes. By juicing is a great way to do that. You're doing vegetable juice, not fruit juice. Maybe a little Granny Smith apple, but you're mostly doing who's watched Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead? Great documentary. Watch 1, don't watch 2. 2 is messed up. And he knows that now. But, 16 ounces each meal works very, very well. And they gave the nutrition. He has osteomyelitis, so we did the Alimed. Alimed is it's a garlic. It takes 24 cloves of garlic to make 1 drop of Alimed. And it blows the doors off vancomycin. It's phenomenal. It works very, very well. We ship it all over the world to physicians, and we wholesale it to physicians, and it works quite well from H. pylori, C. diff, SIBO, some people SIBO, whatever, Lyme disease, a number of things. And nothing's 100%. Nothing works 100% for everybody. And the same thing's true in pharmaceuticals. But we find we get very good benefits. And so he has osteomyelitis, so we did a teaspoon twice a day of the Alimed, PO by mouth, to get in to attack that osteomyelitis. And then we needed to do hydrotherapy. And people will say, well, you cannot do hydrotherapy on that. You cannot do hot and cold. I agree, you can't do hot and cold, but you can do warm and cool. Do 100 degrees. Warm, do 70 degrees cool. You've got your vasodilation, vasoconstriction, vasodilation, vasoconstriction, 3 minutes warm, 1 minute cool, 3 minutes warm, 1 minute cool, 7 times, and you've got that contrast. You're increasing that perfusion, and that's what you're after here. That's the second major thing in wound care is circulation. After we did that, we then sprayed the foot with Alimed again because we're attacking that osteomyelitis. Then we did a salve. And in the salve, we did golden seal, myrrh, frankincense, pine sap. With his, I believe we also did some bee propolis. We didn't have pine sap, so we did bee propolis and aloe vera. Make you a salve, and you want to paint it. Put it very lightly on it. You don't want to pack it like betadine brown sugar. You want to just very lightly cover that red area. It has an infection, so we're going to put a charcoal poultice. Now, what's the first thing we did that I did not mention? We prayed. Because it is what I just mentioned will not heal. God does the healing. And you ask God to bless it. And that's what we did for 30 days. And at 2 weeks, I get a phone call. You know, I'm checking, but at 2 weeks, I get a phone call. We're right here. Physician said, "Well, you need to talk to this guy. He's in Barbados." And she said, "He's walking around town on that foot. And it's improved to here. He's still now trying to walk on it." And so I get it. He gets on the phone, and I said, "You can't walk on that foot. You've got an infection. It's healing. It's looking great. It's improving. You can't walk on it. Outside barefooted out in the dirt and whatever." I said, "If you're going to walk, you got to keep it up above the knee." Well, that's just to try to at least keep it off the ground. And he did well. He kept it off the ground from that point forward. At this point, we've got it from here, and they put a graft on there. And also during that time, do you think the diabetes could have reversed? It did. He came off of its meds, and the osteomyelitis was gone in 30 days. Now that's phenomenal. Osteomyelitis is that's some nasty stuff sometimes. So what do? Clean the wound, hydrotherapy. I need to put warm and cool because you don't want hot and cold. The tissue can't handle it. 7 times golden seal, myrrh, frankincense. I don't know why I don't have frankincense there. Pine sap, pine oil, bee propolis. Those work very, very well. You can use honey. What's the major honey out there that's recommended by the FDA? Manuka. I'm sorry, Manuka. What's it called? Yeah, Manuka honey, out of Australia and New Zealand. It's expensive, but it does have some very good healing properties. But what about your local neighbor who has bees? Can you use his honey? Yeah, you can. Now be careful. Some of the honey out there has high fructose corn syrup. It's cut with stuff. Yes, sir?
Can you just go back one slide?
Oh, absolutely. There you go. It needs to have frankincense in there. For some reason, and you need to change it from hot and cold to warm and cold. On the warm, 100 degrees. Textbooks, 102, 103. I've had blistering at that before, so be cautious. 100, I've never had blistering. And then 70 on the cool, you're going to have contrast. It's going to work well. And so what I'll do is I'll do 1 part garden soil, 1 part myrrh, 1 part frankincense, a half to 1 part pine sap based on what you have, and somewhere around 1.5 to 2 parts aloe vera. I like aloe vera gel. It works well, but you don't always have to have that. Mix it till it's about the viscosity of pancake batter. Pancake batter. You don't want it too thick because when in 12 hours you're going to do hydrotherapy again. You want that to slough off and start all over again. You can do a charcoal poultice, a cabbage poultice. When you have wounds, this is very, very important. When you have wounds, they have to stop using tobacco. Not just smoking, but even oral tobacco. Tobacco causes vasoconstriction. Had a guy come in one time, he'd been to the VA had worked on him for months. It's a simple wound. I mean, it might have been as big as the tip of my finger here. Nothing. It was on his ankle. So I worked with him for 2 weeks. It did not heal. He had no improvement. I'm going, why isn't it healing? So I called up my buddy, Dr. Ted Watkins in Washington, D.C. And I said, Watkins, this thing's not healing. He said, what are you doing? And we used to work together. And I told him, he said, yeah, that's what I do. And he goes, I should be healing. He ain't smoking, is he? That's it. He's smoking, I forgot. I haven't forgotten since. And I said, he goes, it ain't going to heal. You got to get him off that tobacco. So I walk back in the room and I tell the man, I apologize. This is my fault. I knew you smoked, and why I didn't think to tell you, you had to stop smoking. It is not going to heal, obviously. It's not going to heal. He goes, I'm not going to quit smoking. I said, sir, I can't help you anymore. What I know is not working unless you stop smoking. He said, well, I can tell you right now, I ain't stop smoking. And he got up and I never saw him again. You've got to stop tobacco, and you've got to have good nutrition. If you have a bed sore, a DQ, a pressure ulcer, a bed sore is a pressure ulcer. The third thing you have to look at when it comes to pressure ulcers, it's still a circulation issue, but you've got to get that capillary pressure off. What do? You can use a low air loss product. You can use the best product out there I know is called a Clinitron bed. It was developed by the VA for burn patients. But you can use an overlay on the bed, on the chair. It can be an air mattress. It can be a water mattress. It can be a foam like a egg crate, but be cautious. Egg crates, the foams are usually polyurethane. And polyurethane, even though it's fire retardant, if it gets wet because of spilling their water, it gets urinated on, and you wash it, or it gets wet, the fire retardant is many times gone. Polyurethane it has a very fast flame spread. It burns very hot, and it's very toxic. When I was in high school, I worked at a redwood factory, and we made cushions. And you know how boys are. You're experimenting all the time. Experimenting. And it was so much fun. We'd take polyurethane, we'd light it. And boy, that stuff take off the burning. We'd stick it under water and see how long we can hold it under water, bring it back up, and it catch on fire again. So polyurethane is dangerous. If you're using it for a mattress, if it loses the fire retardancy and they smoke. So there's a number of things that you can use, but you've got to keep that capillary pressure off. So whatever type of overlay you use for the bed, for the chair, you've got to keep that capillary pressure at minimum. Pine sap, we talked about that earlier. Pine sap is amazing. Y'all should be doing that up here. Y'all got pine trees. Pine sap is very expensive. Would you like to guess how much I pay for pine sap for a gallon? Any ideas? I've got to order some again. It's probably going to be more.
$30.
$30 for a gallon. 108. Take the $30 and put 2 more zeros on there.
Whoa.
I paid $3,000. The last one I bought, $3,000 a gallon. Somebody needs to figure that out there with all that pine trees you got there. But pine sap is amazing. It's good for wounds, gum disease, mouth sores, immune system, cutting teeth. All 6 of my grandkids, I have one still using it for cutting teeth, pain, headaches. Be cautious on wounds. It's great for laceration and abrasion, but if it's a puncture and you cannot clean that out, such as a nail, a cat bite, a dog bite, that type of a puncture, if you cannot irrigate that well enough, you will have tunneling out. It will heal so fast on the top, and then you'll tunnel back out because you didn't get rid of those pathogens. So be cautious. Mary Lee went and cut her hand slap open one time. And a friend of mine was at work, Dr. Kobos. Do you know Franklin Kobos? He was an ER doc now he's anesthesiology. And I take her in, and Franklin goes, let me sew that thing up. And he said, but first, do you mind if I do some experimenting? I want to show you something I'm experimenting on right now. I said, sure, let's do it. And Franklin and I are friends. It's fun to experiment. Your wife ain't going to sue you. And so he filled it full of pine sap, and then he sutured it up. and it healed much, much faster than normal. Pathogens cannot grow in pine sap. Pine sap heals very rapidly. My youngest son, we'd gone to Hawaii for a convention. I wasn't into this. I was just getting ready to leave regular health care, moving into this. And we'd gone to Hawaii for a convention, came back, I was at work. Marilee calls me frantic. I'm in a meeting. She says, Carson just fell off the stool and stuck a chopstick in the back of his throat. And he's bleeding like a stuck collar. Well, she didn't say that, but he's bleeding bad. I'd say a stuck collar. And so I left the meeting, rushed home. I said, put ice on his throat to try to cause some vasoconstriction there. I get home, and so I was still in healthcare. I'm still on that side of the fence, and I'm concerned because there's 2 punctures, one in the back, and then he comes. So he fell off on the chopstick, came back up, fell back on the chopstick, put another puncture. So he has 2 punctures in his throat. And so I'm thinking, now the central nervous system back there, I don't want to get too close to infection. So I took him to the pediatrician. Pediatrician, she looks at him and she goes, I can't suture that up. All she did was bring in 2 more doctors and say, look at this is really cool, and prescribed him an antibiotic. So I took a piece of like a Q-tip, put pine sap on it, and I put it just all in the back of his throat. Why didn't he throw up? I don't know. But just coated it real well. It healed it right up. I mean, healed it. You couldn't even see it in 2 days. You could not even see where that's how fast it healed. I know the mouth heals very rapidly, but pine sap is great. I was teaching a class like this years ago, and then way back in the corner, listen to people older. They might tell you something that you don't know. And there's this little old lady back here, and she raises her hand when I'm talking about pine sap, and she says, can I tell you something about pine sap? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, well, when I was a little girl in 1918, I was living in Southern California. You think that got my attention? 1918. Southern California. She says, my daddy was a doctor, and he took my brother and I around to see patients doing house calls. Do you think that got my attention? Going in the house, doing house calls with the Spanish flu? Absolutely. She says, so in the evening when we get home, Daddy'd take a pine knot, put it over a fire, drop pine sap out of it in a glass of water, and we'd all drink out of the same glass of water. That got my attention too. I said, well, what happened? She says, we never got sick. We never got the influenza. I said, well, how many drops? How much water? She goes, I don't know. I was just a little girl. Well, when I went back to East Tennessee, back in 2004, I would teach about pine sap, and these ladies, they're dead now. They were in their 80s. They come in to see me, and they tell me the same story over and over. It didn't matter if they're from Crosby, Grassy Fork, Dario, from the mountains, different mountain communities. And they talk about how their grandmothers or their mothers would take pine sap and give them a piece of pine rosin, like this, dried pine rosin, or pine rosin that had been, it's not plumb dry, but had been put in a container. And they'd give them a piece the size, and every one of the women would say, they would reference the head on a match head. Remember the old matches we could strike, they were self-striking? That side. And they would chew it on the way to school. They didn't have school buses back then. And they didn't get sick. It increased the immune system, just like that lady in California. Activated charcoal, 1 teaspoon of activated charcoal has the same surface area as a football field. Activated charcoal does not absorb, it absorbs. The difference in absorb and absorb. If I have a sponge and I walk and I move it across water, it's going to absorb. If I have some flour on the table and I come across it dry, it's going to stick to the sponge outside. That's adsorb. Charcoal adsorbs all kinds of stuff. I had a customer of mine, she's a PhD, her specialty is charcoal. and she works at Oak Ridge National Laboratories. Isn't that cool? And there's different charcoals, and there's different ones to get them to absorb different properties of different sizes. And actually, they wash charcoal, and you can use it over and over and over again. But what happens is it's activated. It actually will absorb better than just plain old charcoal, and your whatever you're trying to pull up will stick to the sides of it. It's the best thing I found for food poisoning. Usually food poisoning is gone within 30 minutes. Take a teaspoon, put it in a glass of water, stir it up and drink it. It'll take care of it. Indigestion, acid reflux, IBS, detox, foot bath for gout. But here's the key. If you're on birth control and you take activated charcoal within 30 minutes of taking that birth control pill is not going to work today. Or your Lanoxin for your tachycardia. Whatever. What happens is we used it in emergency rooms for overdoses. We used it on the ambulance years ago for overdoses. And it works great for adsorbing. I had a nurse one time give a patient way too much morphine. It was by mouth. It wasn't injection. And she called me and she says, Walt, what do I do? I said, you use activated charcoal? No, I said, you use activated charcoal. Sucked it right up like she didn't even give it to him. And so don't use it around medication 2 hours before or after medications, or it'll soak it up. But activated charcoal is very, very good. If you're having a problem with somebody that when you're trying to give it to them and they throw up, here's what you do. You make something called slurry water. You take 1 teaspoon of activated charcoal, put it in a glass of water and stir it. Wait 15 minutes. Take 1/4 of a teaspoon and give it to them. Stir it, wait 15 minutes, give 1/4 of a teaspoon. Every 15 minutes for the next 7 to 8 hours, you're doing this. But you're increasing by 1/4 of a teaspoon every hour. So the first hour, it's 1/4 of a teaspoon. The second hour, it's 1/2 a teaspoon. The third hour, it's 3/4 of a teaspoon. And the physician that taught me to do this, he said, Walt, you are going to be tempted around 3 hours, 4 hours, say, I ain't got time for this, and just tell them to start drinking it. And they will throw up. But as long as you wait 7 to 8 hours, they will not throw up. It works. Well, also I tried it one time, several times on folks. I wonder what happened in 3 or 4 hours. Boom, they threw up, just like it said. That's science. You got to test it, right? That's science. So, but you're doing 1/4 of a teaspoon every 15 minutes for the first hour. Then 1/2 a teaspoon, 3/4 of a teaspoon. It works phenomenal. And for that person who just cannot hold anything down. And then if you don't like activated charcoal, it tastes like dirt, you can use a straw and that will throw it back further in the mouth. Charcoal poultices, there's different ways of making them. You can make a charcoal poultice with flaxseed, oatmeal, psyllium seed. I personally like psyllium powder. It works the best. I'll do 1 part charcoal, 1 part psyllium, somewhere between 5 and 6 parts of water based on the psyllium powder. The psyllium I have at work right now is about 5.5 parts. And so let's say I'm making a charcoal, let's make it simple. I make a charcoal poultice about this big. So I'll use a 1/2 cup of psyllium, a 1/2 cup of charcoal. Here's a key, mix it thoroughly. If you don't mix it thoroughly, the psyllium will congeal, the charcoal won't, and it's going to be a mess. Once it's mixed thoroughly, you mix it until there's no black and no tan. You can't see any tan, you can't see any black, you only see gray. Then you can stop. Then you're going to add somewhere between 5 to 6 parts water based on the psyllium and dump it all in there at once. And you're going to start mixing. And you're going to say, he's plumb crazy. It's too much water. And you should keep stirring it. I like stirring it fast, it works better. And after about 45 seconds to a minute, all of a sudden, you got a black ball. Keep stirring it, maybe to 2 to 3 minutes. And now it's just this big old black ball. And then I'll take a piece of cellophane. This is the hardest thing about the whole thing, is to tear that cellophane. Tear that cellophane and it not come back on itself. Get someone to help you. lay it down on the table, put that black ball on there, put you another piece of cellophane on top of it, smash it down to about an eighth of an inch, correction, a fourth of an inch, roll it out, and now it's like biscuit dough. And you then pull that saran wrap back and cut the amount that you need for the affected area. If it's for the eye, cut you a little piece about like this. If you got a boil right here, cut you a piece that's a little bit bigger than the affected side. Then you're going to lay that cellophane back. You put some cellophane on the outside of that, or outside here, because charcoal will not adsorb if it dries. So keeping that cellophane on the outside keeps it from drying as fast. Then you'll roll up that charcoal poultice like a Swiss roll, stick it in the refrigerator. It will last 5 to 7 days. But just like bread that your mama made or your grandma made and it mildews or molds because you didn't eat it fast enough, because it doesn't have preservatives in it, it's going to mold. The psyllium does not have preservatives and it's going to mold. So however much you need for about 7 days, you can put in the refrigerator. If you have more than that, put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer and it will last for years. Pull it out, thaw it out, and you can use it. So that's how you make a charcoal poultice. Works very, very well. Mix it well, add water, roll that between 2 pieces of plastic wrap, 1/4 of an inch thick, store the extra. Short term in the refrigerator, long term in the freezer. Now this is a key, a very important key. I had a nurse one time, and she had some type of a wound, and she was from Colombia, South America. Her daddy put a charcoal poultice on there, did not put a barrier, and she had a black spot on her hand there. Still has it today because it tattooed it. So if used over an open wound, place a barrier, wet paper towel, or wet cloth between the wound and the poultice, and it will not tattoo. When Mary Lou and I went down to Venezuela, they do not have saran wrap. They just used a wet sheet, and they used it over and over and over again. They would clean it. But so you can put it in paper towel, you can put it in, with the psyllium, you can just put it flat on the tissue with a wet paper towel in between or a wet piece of cloth. Infected wounds, stings, bites, inflammation, gout, pain, cancer works really well. Eye infections, dental infections. Let's say you have a dental infection. The nice thing I like about the psyllium is you can tear you off a little piece about the size of this digit right here and put it in there like a piece of tobacco. And put it in there against your gum and your cheek and leave it there for a couple hours, pull it out, throw it away, put another one, and it will pull infection out of that gum area. What I've done before I learned about the psyllium, I would take ground flaxseed and charcoal, make it wet, put it in a paper towel, like, you know how you ever seen folks put those little packets of tobacco in their mouth? You know, I make a little packet like that out of paper towel and stick it in there. The psyllium works better, you know, you can just put a slap on there. Infections. Antibiotic resistance is among the CDC's top concerns. Upper respiratory infections account for 3/4 of all antibiotics prescribed by the office-based physicians. What did that say? Upper respiratory infections account for 3/4, 75% of all antibiotics prescribed by office-based physicians. Antibiotics are often used inappropriately. More than 10 million courses of antibiotics are prescribed each year for viral conditions that do not benefit from antibiotics, according to the CDC. Why is that? Because you want them. I had a fellow call me the other day. Oh, it's been a couple of weeks ago now. He went to the ER, took his little boy he had a viral situation going on. The ER doc wouldn't give him anything. And he wanted an antibiotic. And the doc wouldn't do it. Hooray for the doc. He said, I wanted an antibiotic. I told him I wanted that. I expected that. I said, antibiotic ain't going to fix your boy. He's got a virus. The doctor did good. Why? So many doctors are doing this because the patient, the customer, is demanding it. The losing battle against deadly bacteria is a public health crisis. It's true. Infections, Allison, Golden Seal. Who's ever used Golden Seal? Golden Seal is a tremendous tool. I enjoy Golden Seal. If you can't find Golden Seal, if you can't afford Golden Seal, there's another product out there. It's called Poor Man's Golden Seal. Have you ever heard of it? It's called Oregon Grapefruit. You ever use Oregon Grapefruit? I still use Golden Seal if I have it. If not, Oregon Grapefruit. I use that. Vitamin C, olive leaf extract. Olive leaf extract is amazing. Shingles. The best thing I found for shingles, Dr. Thrash taught me this one. 800 milligrams of olive leaf extract 3 times a day. That's going to kill shingles. B complex is going to help with the stress because stress normally exacerbates shingles. And then put a castor oil pack. You can use a charcoal poultice. I like a castor oil pack. Works a little better over the affected area. It dries up the shingles, it pushes in the shingles, and it helps with the pain of the shingles. It's simple. It's a real easy tool. Olive leaf extract is amazing. Also, if you're going to a country that has malaria, a lot of mission teams do this. They'll take, say, 800 milligrams of olive leaf extract 3 times a day, a month out, 30 days out, and during the mission trip, significantly helps prevent malaria. Colloidal silver, another great tool. Nutrition, manage stress, hydrotherapy, charcoal poultice. Those things can also help with infections. Garlic, garlic's amazing. Allison, who's ever done an epoxy where you take 2 products, put it together? Well, have you ever heard somebody take garlic and smash it and then eat it? It works better? Yeah. Well, that's where you're combining 2 chemicals and making allicin. The problem is allicin does not stabilize well. There's only one place that I have found that has a good reputation of stabilizing allicin. Allicin liquid is stabilized 2.5 to 3 years, and it's a company in England, and that's the Aliment that I use. Well, allicin is an active ingredient of garlic. Look at this. According to NIH, it's antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, antiprotozoal. Allicin exhibits various biological properties like antimicrobial, anti-cancer, antioxidant, immunomodulatory, anti-inflammatory, hypoglycemic, and cardiovascular effects. It is phenomenal what allicin can do. Natural OTC, over the counter, does not require prescription. MRSA, VRSA, the thing I talked about today, the gentleman who had the vancomycin resistant, and the doctor said he's going to die. Remember that story I told y'all? That was the allicin that we used. Was it the allicin that healed him?
No.
Who healed him? God healed him. That's exactly right. Viral infections, bacterial infections. So here's the person. He takes his son to the ER, demanding an antibiotic. The doctor says he has a viral infection. There's nothing he can give him. But could he be giving him Alimed? Sure can. And it's very effective. It lower cholesterol, common cold, dysentery, E. coli, salmonella, heartburn, acid reflux, upset stomach, IBS, IBD, H. pylori. Works really, really well for Helicobacter pylori, along with, say, a good probiotic, C. diff, diverticulitis, parasites, flukes, pneumonia. The best thing I find for diverticulitis, as I mentioned earlier, is 3 capsules of Golden Seal 3 times a day, and that works very, very well. And get rid of the cause. Is the cause due to constipation? Is the cause to eating nuts and seeds? Immune system. How do we boost the immune system? The 3 big issues on the immune system. No sugar, get your sleep, and minimize stress. Those will wipe out your immune system. Did you know that one soft drink, 12-ounce soft drink, Dr. Neil Medley in his book, Proof Positive, says the average soft drink, 12 ounce, will wipe out your immune system 50% for up to 4 hours. Then take a Snickers bar. Oh, not this big. Not the ones today. You know, the ones when we were kids. Ones that are about this big. Along with a 12-ounce soft drink. That will wipe out your immune system. 1 out of 14 white cells are working. 13 out of white cells you just anesthetize for up to 4 hours. Average milkshake, an average piece of cheesecake will wipe out your immune system 92 to 93% for up to 4 hours. Sugar is huge and wipe out your immune system. Sleep, stress, and Neil Nadley's book, I think it's Depression the Way Out. It may be, no, it's probably proof positive. He says that 1 minute of anger will wipe out your immune system significantly for 6 hours. There's a good friend of mine that we were teaching a class on the immune system, and he's a neurologist, specializes in brain function. I said, okay, Argo, tell me about this. If 1 minute of anger will wipe out the immune system for 6 hours, let's talk physiologically what's going on in the brain with 1 minute of anger versus 1 minute of stress. Are they similar? He said, absolutely. I said, would I be safe saying 1 minute of stress will wipe out the immune system significantly for 6 hours? He said, absolutely. It's huge. Check your vitamin D level. We talked about that today. It's not how much vitamin D you take, it's what is your blood level. Good nutrition, exercise, universal precautions. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Garlic, allicin, Podiarco, amazing. Podiarco is do some research on that one. That will be a huge tool that you will enjoy, is Podiarco. Red clover, echinacea, golden seal, elderberry, vitamin C. Vitamin C, remember vitamin C, like ascorbic acid, has a half-life of 30 minutes. The liposomal vitamin C has a half-life somewhere between 5.5 to 6 hours. So that liposomal is going to last a lot longer. Olive leaf extract, we talked about that. And then this is my 357 magnum. Oil of oregano. It is amazing. When I feel like I'm catching something, I've got it in my turnouts, my coat, in my fur coat. I've got it in my backpack for my wildland fires. I've got it in my vehicle. I've got it at the office. Mary Lou has one on her side of the bed. I got one on my side of the bed. If we wake up, have you ever woke up in the middle of the night and you feel like you're catching something? Do not wait until tomorrow morning. One morning I woke up around 2 o'clock, and you ever felt like you're catching something? And you know that you're going to catch it? Mary Lou, she didn't have hers, I didn't have mine. We were plumb out of the house. What did I do? I got in the car, I drove down the mountain, 30-something minutes away to work. I got me a bottle, took it at work, then got some, took it back home, went back to bed, and I did not get sick. When I'm out on a fire or a wreck on the interstate, in the middle of the night, it's raining, snowing, or it's the middle of the night, I'm not getting my sleep, I've got it there that I can take. Because if I'm not careful, I'll get sick. Because sleep deprivation can affect your immune system. Oil of oregano is just amazing. Do not take straight oil of oregano. I mix it, I use it with a 25% oil of oregano, 75% olive oil. 25% oil of oregano, 75% olive oil. If you put oil of oregano straight under your tongue or in your mouth, you're going to burn it. You're going to burn your esophagus. You're going to burn your stomach. You put it in water, you can still burn it. That kind of dilutes it a little bit, then you can take it. Don't do what I do. I will put 10 drops under my tongue, hold it for 2 minutes, and swallow it. You don't think I'm trying to kill you. It's strong. It really is. Start with 3 drops. Oil of oregano also is good for mold. Who listens to Dr. Bob Martin? Bob Martin is quite an interesting fellow. He's out west. And he has found that people who have mold toxicity, he'll start with 3 drops 3 times a day, works up to 10, even as much as 15 drops 3 times a day, and he's cleaning the mold out of his patients. It's pretty cool. Boils. Look for a blood purifier tea, such as chaparral, burdock, red clover. Usually boils are a blood issue. Charcoal poultice, allicin, nutrition water. The charcoal poultice will take care of it. It really will. If you want to speed up your boil to a head to get it faster, put some tea tree oil on it, and it will speed it up until it comes open. You can put the charcoal poultice on it without a barrier, a wet barrier paper towel, but once it opens, you're going to have to put that charcoal poultice. That charcoal poultice, within 15 minutes on average, the pain is significantly diminished. If the pain comes back, it means the charcoal poultice is pulled out as much as it can. Throw it away, it's nasty. Put you another charcoal poultice on it. And also I find with charcoal poultices, remember when you have a boil and you lance it or you push on it and a big old core comes out? When I use the charcoal poultice, it's almost like a volcano. And so it's not as much pressure against the tissue, and I see less of a scarring issue when I use the charcoal poultice than the old way of doing it, where you have that hard core that displaces the tissue. Insomnia.
Oh, can you go back to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Who was that? Oh, you got it? Okay. This one here is a tough one. It's tough because not everybody's the same. It's a tough one because what works now may not work in 2 weeks. It's like deodorant. Have you ever seen people with deodorant and they have to change their deodorant every once in a while? The same thing's true here. And since COVID, it's even worse. Harvard found with COVID an issue going on. National Geographic found an issue going on. When people went home for COVID, they turned their bedroom into the office, to the dining room, entertainment room, the library. It was the multipurpose room. People are still using it today as the multipurpose room. They're still working at the house. And their bedroom is their office. And Harvard said that the brain is having a hard time figuring out what to do in that room. Now, when you go into the bathroom, do you have any question of what that bathroom's for? Do you say, well, I think I'll eat a pizza? Do you? No. Harvard said you got to turn the bedroom into only what the bedroom is for, and that's 3 things. That's sleeping, changing your clothes, and relations between spouses. That's it. Everything out. Eat in the dining room. Find another place to have your office. Find another place to read. Find another place to watch TV. Because what happens is when you wake up in the middle of the night, the brain goes, maybe I could watch some TV. Or maybe I could get a pizza. Or maybe the brain's just having a hard time. And that's Harvard's recommendation. And National Geographic in their research came up with the same conclusion unrelated to Harvard. What can we do? Yes, valerian, hop, skullcap, passion flower, those are great. Magnesium oil, rub it on the bottom of your feet, chamomile. It is true when you eat supper, that means light to no supper. Eating supper can affect sleep in multiple ways. You don't produce as much melatonin. You don't, and also that food can putrefy for a minute if you're eating it within 3 to 4 hours of laying down, and that affects the brain's working. Tryptophan, L-theanine, B-complex, sunshine, copaiba. We talked about copaiba last night. 5 drops of copaiba in the tongue works well for some people. Some people bouncing on a mini trampoline. The health bounce, but a health bounce beforehand. There's something called tranquil sleep. Tranquil sleep. It's got 5-HTP, which is similar to your tryptophan. It's got melatonin. Melatonin doesn't work for most people. It seems to actually increase dream activity and actually can increase nightmares for some people. So I don't find that is a big bat by itself, but within this combination it works pretty good. And then it has L-theanine in it. It's a tough one. It really is. And so you want to keep trying something that will work for you. When 9/11 happened, Our patients out of Washington, D.C. and out of New York City could not sleep. And I called, did you ever meet Dr. Walter Strachan?
No, I haven't.
He used to work down at UT, just a very great guy from California. He worked over at UT some. I called him in California. He was a psychiatrist. Last 14 years of his career, he didn't use one pharmaceutical. He used natural remedies. And Strachan said, give him 2 tablespoons of valerian, 2 tablespoons of hops, 2 tablespoons of skullcap powder of all 3, and 2 cups of water at 8 o'clock. He said that put him out. He says it worked for a lady whose husband's died there in hysteria. It did not work. So I called him the next day, and he goes, wow. He said, give him full dose at 6 o'clock, give him full dose at 8 o'clock. It did not work. He said, go back 2 hours, went 4, 6, 8, didn't work, 2, 4, 6, 8, didn't work. For 6 months, we gave all of our patients out of New York City, Washington, D.C., 2 tablespoons of valerian, 2 tablespoons of hop, 2 tablespoons of skullcap, all powder, in 2 cups of water at 2 o'clock, again at 4 o'clock, again at 6 o'clock, again at 8 o'clock, and it worked. 2 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of each, and do that each time. And so what you first do, and we did that. Every time we got new patients in, we try it. 8 o'clock, no. 6, 8, no. 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's what it took. I found that to work. A wet sheet pack is something that you can do. Look up wet sheet pack, where you take a sheet and put it in ice water and roll it out and jump in there, and every bit of you is touched, and I put folks out with a wet sheet pack. That can be, no.
So the sheet is cold?
Yeah, so what you do is you take a sheet. Okay, so you take a sheet and you take it, let's say this is your sheet. You have a person up here, well, let's say you have a person here, you got a person here, so you take it, you fold your sheet to here, on both, and then you take it from here to fold it to here, and then you roll it up. Now, that's what we use in firefighting, it just works real good as a salvage cover. That's how you fold it, is you unroll is the best I found. And you roll it up, it's about this big. You dab it down in ice water, plum cold, ice water, that's 32 degrees. Partially wring it out, but not plumb. You get the person, strip down as much as you can. Put a piece of plastic on the bed, say a shower curtain. And then you take it and you say, are you ready? On your mark, get set, go. And you roll it out. And then the person's on the other side, and you take it and you grab the inner, these 2 tabs here that you fold in, and then you take it. It's real fast, works good. They hop in there, put it under their arms, around their neck, between their legs. I mean, they are plumb touched by this thing. You don't leave them alone. It's cold at first. But what happens when it's cold at first, the blood goes to the area to try to warm them up. And it calms them down. And it helps them go to sleep. Do not leave them, because you've tightly tucked them in there. And when they wake up 2 hours later, 6 hours later, 8 hours later, and they start to get up, one, if they're claustrophobic, they might go nuts. The other is they try to get up, they may try to get up and roll off and break their hip. So stay with them until they wake up. But we used it, they used it in psych units. Works good on psych patients that aren't doing well. But also, I've used it on folks with insomnia. But this is a hard one, y'all. It really is. You've got to do your research and find out what works for you, what works for that person. It's not an easy one. Stress. Stress is huge. Rest, nutrition, water, exercise, trusting God, very, very important. A lot of people stress. Trusting in God is very important. It's amazing. There's so much I want to share with y'all, I just don't have time. Story after story of where different things work. I need to tell you this. It's really important. I had this lady come in. It was a Friday. Mary Lou was up at the house. She was homeschooling the kids. And this lady comes in. Oh, I'm working with these ladies. And this lady comes walking in. And she comes behind the counter and she's standing there. And I'm in the middle working with these other ladies, and she's just, you walk. Well, she looked like another whooped dog. Remember the whooped dog I told you about this morning, that girl that really looked bad? This lady looked real terrible, awful too. She dressed like a gypsy. Her hair looked like Princess Leia's hair back. Remember back when we were in college and watching Princess Leia? She just didn't look right. And she said, I said, yes, I'm on. She said, they told me you could help me. Can you help me? I said, ma'am, I'm by myself today. Okay. For the rest of the day, I'll have a store full of people. Can you come Monday morning, 8 o'clock, and I'll be glad to sit down and help you. She said, I'll be here at 8 o'clock. And she's walking around, she stops and she looks at me and she says, I will be the worst patient you've ever had, is the person she said. I'll be the worst patient you've ever had. Walks on out. And we all looking like, what just walked in here? Monday morning, she was there right on time. She goes over, we sit down, she's facing me, I start doing history. Asking her about what's bothering you. And she said that she had been to a psychiatrist and the drugs didn't work. She had been to a psychologist and the therapies didn't work. And in her brain, she's just having problems. And someone told her maybe the herbs that I had would work. And so I'm getting, health history. I'm getting lifestyle history. And she said, right in the middle of talking, she says, I need to tell you something. I said, what's that? She says, I can make things levitate. You believe me? Yes, ma'am. Is that a clue? She didn't say nothing else. So I start back into the history. We're talking along. She says, I need to tell you something else. I said, what? She says, you see that new overall auto parts over there? They just built it. She says, I've never been in there, but I can tell you what everything is in that store. Do you believe me? Yes, ma'am. Do you know what we're dealing with? I'm praying. And so I divert off and I start talking to her. Yes, I was talking to her about brain stuff because she told me this stuff was happening and whatever. And she got to the point that she was telling me that in the middle of the night she'd be lifted up off the bed and thrown against the wall. And I verified that with her husband later. And then stuff I didn't know even happened that she told me happened. And so I said, and I mentioned Jesus, and you would have thought she was having a seizure. She starts shaking, just shaking. And I said, what's wrong with you? And she said, they don't like that word. They don't like that word. And she calmed down, and I started talking. I thought, let me test this. And I said, God. And she did not shake. And it showed me how much more Satan and his angels hate Jesus than God. I tested it again later on in this talk. I said, Jesus, and she started shaking again. And so I gave her a few things. She didn't come with money. I gave her a few things. And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to come back next Monday. But between now and next Monday, I want you to, every time they start talking to you, I want you to say, in Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. That's right. And I said, I don't care if you say it for 20 minutes. Say it until they quit talking to you. I'm just no country boy, and I'm talking to country people. And she said, I'll do it. And then as we got up and we were walking out, I remembered that some Gideons had brought us the week before a little New Testament Gideon Bible. It was white in color. And I went and picked it up. And I said, I want you to read this. She said, okay. And she left. She was back that next Monday morning right on time. She was on time the first Monday morning. She was at the door at 8 o'clock. Next Monday morning, 8 o'clock. She comes in, looked like a whole different woman. She still dressed kind of weird, but her face, her countenance was calm, a whole different looking woman. I said, how are you doing? And she says, great. I said, are they still talking to you? She says, they can't. They stopped talking to me. I said, how did they stop talking to you? She said, I said what you told me to say, and they can't talk to me when I say that. And I said, did you happen to get a chance to read that little book I gave you? And she says, yes. She said, I especially liked the first 4 books in that book. Especially meant she'd read more than. I said, why did you like the first 4 books? She says, because it talks about Jesus. And she did not shake. The lady did very well. She improved. And then she started, this was over probably a year, 2 years. And then I noticed she started de-escalating. And I asked her, I said, do you have anything in your house? And she told me how she got into it, and I won't mention it because I don't want nobody doing it. Do you have anything in the house that could be part of how you got into this? She said, yes. She claimed she was a white witch. I said, you have to get rid of those things. Burn them, throw them in the river, something. You cannot have them in your house. And she wouldn't do it. And she went back to where she was before. And we may see her every couple of years. But she's back like she was. When God brings you out of, you have to turn away from. Because if you continue or pick back up, you will go back to where you were. Does that make sense? I don't think any of y'all have her problem. Don't raise your hand if you do. But your little problems compared to her problem. Can you see how saying in Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me, can be beneficial when you're stressed? Trusting God? It's huge. Say it for 20 minutes. I got this lady who comes in. Her son shot a state trooper. He's in prison. They've told her they'll never see him again. She tried to go see him back in August. They won't let her see him. He's out somewhere mid-U.S. And she was devastated. I'd be devastated if I couldn't hug my boy, see my boy again. She can write him. She can talk to him on the phone. But they won't let her see him. And I said, here's what you do. You take a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, you draw a T-bar. You worked in corporate, didn't you? You know what a T-bar is. What worked well and what didn't work well. Here, controllables. This one's non-controllables. Write down all your list over here for stressors. And write down these that are controllable. Kind of like you can turn the lights off. You don't have to have a Mercedes. You can do fine with a Chevy or a Ford or a Honda or something. You don't have to have a highfalutin car. But you're going to have to pay taxes. So you put that on non-controllable. And so I had her put her stresses here that she could control. The ones she could not control, put those right here. And then you take that piece of paper and you plumb rip it in half. This one you sit down on the table. This one you go and sit down and you talk to God. And you say, God, will you take these? You will do anything within what is right to help your children. Is that true? Absolutely. God will do anything within what is right to take care of you. So therefore, He will take that. No, she may not be able to see her son again. But that daily torture of Satan coming to her and saying, your boy's in prison, you never hug him again. Your boy's in prison, you never see him again. It was torture on her. She does not have that anymore. She gave it to God and said, God, take this. And when Satan is going, 1, don't take it back. 2, Satan's going to come and say, your boy's in prison, you'll never see him again. Your boy's in prison. And what she does is she says, Satan, in Jesus' name, get thee behind me. In Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. She keeps saying it and saying it. And boom, he leaves her. And he won't mess with her anymore. If it does it again, she'll do it, and it pushes him away again. It works, y'all. It's very, very powerful. As you can see, there's other things that work for stress. We could keep going, like I said, all night long. This is my favorite one. But I'll stop here. But if you get anything out of what I talked about this weekend, it's this right here. That's where the power is. Yes, we have responsibilities. I can't go and say, Mary Lou, I'm never going to eat again. God's just going to keep me living. Is God going to keep me living without eating? I doubt it. He's going to say, listen, boy, I gave you a brain, I gave you food, and I used both of them. And that's how God is. There's a working relationship between trusting in Him and these laws of health. There's responsibility that we have. And He gives us these natural laws. But I encourage you, what you've learned over this weekend, do not be selfish. Don't keep them to yourself. Share them with other people. Your family, your neighbors, your co-workers, anybody you come up to that needs some help, share with them. I believe it's very, very important. Do we want to take questions? Okay. How long?
Maybe 15 minutes.
Okay. Is there any questions that y'all have? Yes, ma'am.
When you were talking about the wound care and you had the open wound like that guy's, if you were to put, like you said, for a charcoal poultice, you put something barrier in between, but it's moist, it's going to get, the liquid's going to go through, right? How do you clean it again afterwards? How long do you leave it on? Or does it depend on the wound?
So on that wound, I'm going to, whether it's, on the surface or if it's down in like in the cube or like it's put there, I'm going to put that salve in there. Then I'm going to put a wet paper towel on top of that. Then I'm going to put the charcoal poultice right on top of that. And then I'm going to put cellophane across the top. And so it's not going to be a problem with the charcoal poultice laying on top of that at all. And was it you that asked earlier about using some different, on the hot water, on the warm water, you could use Epsom salt, or you could use golden seal or whatever. Yes, you can use those herbs.
If somebody's on dialysis, will that filter out the stuff that you're putting in? I've got a friend who's got renal failure because of diabetes and he's on dialysis. So if he drinks corn syrup tea, is there any hope that will reverse that?
I had a lady that was on hemodialysis, 33 years of age, white female. She had been on dialysis since she was 15 years old. She was having some significant issues, even on hemo. And she did this. Dr. Walter Kempner's diet for renal failure. For breakfast is 3 servings of fruit, 1 cup of brown rice. If they're a diabetic and bananas or grapes throws it crazy high, just don't use those. And 1 cup of brown rice. In the brown rice, you could put some cilantro, some scallions, some turmeric, no salt with dialysis. That's breakfast. 3 servings of fruit. If it's big, apple, orange, pear, 1 serving, 1 each. If it's little stuff, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, half a cup is a serving. Or big papaya or pineapple, only half a cup of those. And then 1 cup of brown rice, that's breakfast. For the noon meal, which I call dinner, is a nice big old salad, no dressing, no oil, no cheese, no meat, no salt. Duke would have them, you could squeeze some lemon juice on there, or you could put some low added salt salsa. Sometimes you have to negotiate. That's not the best choice, but it's better than going back to the salad dressing. And then if they're diabetic, don't give them supper. They don't need supper. Because you've got to address that diabetes also if you can. If they had to have something, maybe a V8 juice, low sodium V8 juice. Then water, adequate water, body weight divided by 2, that many ounces of water a day, and more if they need to, that we talked about earlier today. Exercise 4 times a day. Exercise is very, very important on renal failure. Is you want to exercise that person 4 times a day. If they can walk only 1 minute, do 1 minute 4 times a day. 5 minutes. Or if they can't walk, have them clap their hands, pat their legs. Patients in a wheelchair, we would have them take a roll of, a piece of paper, a newspaper, and tape it up and hit their legs, hit their arms, clap their hands, rub their ears. This one works real good. Rubbing their ears is real good and hard. Something to increase that circulation. And then be asleep by 9 o'clock. In 30 days, see, her potassium was crazy, her phosphorus was crazy, and her creatinine was 11. In 30 days of just doing that, she wouldn't do the next part that I'm going to share with you. All she did is that. Potassium, and at what point, I don't know. But at 30 days, her potassium was normal, phosphorus was normal, and creatinine went from 11 to 6. Now that's good. But then if you can add the corn silk, the dandelion root, the CoQ10, coenzyme Q10, 100 milligrams 4 times a day. Coenzyme Q10, it's good for cell wall stability, for oxygenation, works real good. And then a good friend of mine, a surgeon, taught me to use activated charcoal for renal failure. What's the #1 use of charcoal in America? Water purification. What's the kidneys do? Water purification. And so it aids, he told me it aids the kidneys in that purification process. And so you can do like 3 caps 3 times a day, or 1 teaspoon twice a day. Make sure there's no meds around. And it's amazing what we see in helping renal failure. And they can stay on that. The question is, how long can they stay on that Duke diet, Duke University? I met a lady at Duke when I went to take the program to get approved to use it for our patients, and she had lost 200 pounds. That didn't happen in 3 months, 6 months, a year. That took a couple of years. The longest I've seen a person stay on that diet was 1 month shy of 6 years. They had an ejection fraction of 20. Doc told them in Knoxville, Nashville, they had 2 months to live, and he ended up living 1 month shy of 6 years, died of COVID. And I asked him, I said, are you not tired? His EF went from 20 to 30. That's why we stayed on it. And he just wouldn't improve above 30, but he stayed alive. And I asked him, are you not bored of that diet? He says, yes, but I still get to see my kids, my grandkids, and my great-grandkids. And it was my father. And it was totally healthy to do for up to almost 6 years. So it's a good tool. Dr. Walter Kentner is a physician that put that together. KEMP-NER. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
My neighbor has a neuropathy in his legs and it's painful.
Yes.
Is there anything I can help him with?
Neuropathy, does he have diabetes? No, just has peripheral neuropathy.
He had a stroke.
People today they're looking for a pill. And there is a pill I found that works pretty good. It's by Terry Naturally. Terry Naturally. It's called Healthy Feet and Nerves. If it doesn't work, take it back and get your money back.
Where would I get it?
Local health food store. It's 2 caps in the morning, 2 caps in the evening. It takes about 3 to 4 days to work. It's got B vitamins and different nutrients in it that help with vascular circulation, nerve health. And so it works pretty well. Terry Nat. Terry. Naturally. N-A-T-U-R. I don't know. I can't spell naturally. I spell phonetically, and I talk Southern. They just don't match. Naturally.
T-E-R-R-Y.
Mm-hmm. The naturally.
Okay.
Yes. And it's called Healthy Feet and Nerves. Healthy Feet and Nerves. And that's, yes, you can do hydrotherapy to it, that's good, warm and cool, not hot and cold. Those 8 laws of health are so important. exercise. Mini trampoline is a great tool if that can help. Mini trampoline will increase lymphatic flow tenfold. It increases vascular flow significantly. It increases immune system 300%. 5 minutes on the mini trampoline will increase the immune system 300% for up to 1 hour. So a cancer person can jump on that for 5 minutes every waking hour, and it's going to bring that white count up 300%. There's different things that will increase that vascular flow, but people mostly today are just giving a pill, and that's a good tool to start with. And if you can do that hydrotherapy, warm and cool, warm 3 minutes warm, 1 minute cool, I say 100 degrees warm, 1 minute cool, put some Epsom salt in it. Another thing really I found that works well for peripheral neuropathy is putting some magnesium oil on that area. That can be beneficial. I've seen that to be beneficial. But first of all, before you do this, look and see what's his B12 level. B12 deficiency can cause that type of a problem. Check the B12. But then I was out speaking a week or two out in Idaho, and this physician from California came up to hear me speak, and he's into what's it called? Functional medicine. And he told me, he said, well, I was speaking about magnesium. And the guys at the lab at the hospital and the physicians at the hospital are telling me you can't trust a magnesium level in a panel anymore because it's a mag serum. It's a blood serum. And 1.5% to 2% of your magnesium is in the serum. And it's disproportionate many times with what's in the RBC, the red blood cell, where the majority of it is. So you can't trust that one. You need to go to an individual test. It's a magnesium RBC to identify really what's going on with the magnesium. And so he told me when we were eating dinner at the meeting, he said, well, B12 is the same. He said, I'm finding that B12, even though it may be 1,100, 1,200, may not be enough. The blood is not as accurate as checking it at a cellular level. And I told him, I said, I've been hearing this, that even though you've got a 1,200, 1,300, if taking more helps you, take more. And he said, absolutely. So, but at least let's find out what a baseline is on that B12. That could be an issue. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Some for me. I have a running eye. It's more than water. It's a mucus a lot of times, and I'm always having to like that. I don't know what it is. I went to a doctor on August 3rd, 2018, and he wanted to put needles in, whatever, and I said no. And he thought maybe my tear duct was plugged. And so he was going to do that.
Was it plugged?
No. Then he said that I had the beginning of cataracts, and probably in 2 years those would show up. But I'm blind glasses to see to read it, write it. But otherwise I haven't seen any change. But I've just got this mucus in my eye, right eye especially.
And it has drainage?
Yes, it comes to the center.
And what color is the drainage?
Well, it was yellow in the beginning, and then it's white now. And I don't know, my great granddaughter noticed it when we was in church. She said, "Granny, what's that stuff in your eye?"
And your eye doctor said that the tear duct was not plugged up?
No, he didn't do anything. He didn't try that. I didn't want a needle.
Did he find any infection?
No.
Okay. If there ever is an infection, the best thing I have found for eye infection, there's several things you can use. You can use raw milk, breast milk, cow milk, goat's milk. That's why in some countries, in the Caribbean, women tell me they squirt breast milk in the child's eye for as much as 3 months to 6 months. In Africa, they tell me the same thing. The Appalachian women, same thing. That will prevent infection. But my favorite is take golden seal. And all you need is 1/8 of a teaspoon in 1 ounce of water. Make an infusion. and get a coffee filter. This is the only thing a coffee filter is good for. And pour it in there because it doesn't wick like a paper towel. And pour it in there. You don't want those granules from the golden seal in your eye. You just want the pure tea. And put you, say, a drop or two in the eye every couple hours. That is very fast to kill an infection. Honey is very fast to kill an infection. Yes, you can use a charcoal poultice, but the fastest thing I have found is either honey or golden seal. You can put honey in your eye. Yes. The other thing I'd take a look at is that tear duct clogged? You'll see. Now, as I mentioned earlier today, an eye doctor friend of mine, what he would do for that is he would massage the area real carefully. No eye makeup. He would take a toothbrush that was very soft, put no more tears on it, and lightly massage that tear duct to help it. Now, some eye doctors have a machine that can stick on there and it'll suck it out and unclog it. And he said that can be required. But there's a product I use that I have very good success with. It's called Can-C. Can-C. And I need a magnifying glass to read it. It's N-acetyl-carnosine or carnitine, I don't remember. It's either N-acetyl-carnitine or N-acetyl-carnosine. But I put it in my eyes, and you can do, if you have a problem, 2 drops twice a day, or routine, just for eye care, 1 drop twice a day. And I've been using this, a couple years. And this week I went to my eye doctor, and he looked at my eyes, and he said, "Well, I need to show you your eyes." And he brings my right eye up, he brings my left eye up. I'm 63, and he says, "I can find nothing wrong in your eyes. Your eyes are perfect health. Besides, I have to wear contacts. But inside the eyes, the vascular flow, the nerves, everything," he said, "it's perfect." He says, "I don't see this in a 63-year-old. He says, my pressure was 13, 15. He says, your pressure is perfect. You have no cataracts developing. Everything's perfect." And I said, "Well, I have to tell you about this stuff." But there's a doctor out in California, he and his wife, who is a nutritionist, found that a lot of times eye problems, such as cataracts, such as glaucoma, such as floaters, are due to the circulation of the eyes getting clogged. Their sewer system of the eyes getting clogged. The Asians have been dealing with this for many years, and they've been putting a drop of honey or a drop of lemon juice in their eye, and that will clear it out. But you have to make sure there's not a cut in the eye or anything. Well, this doesn't hurt as bad. Your eyes burn when you put in honey or especially lemon juice. And so I'll just put a drop of this in, twice a day. And there was no formative cataract. I used to have floaters. They're gone. It got rid of the floaters, and again, there's no pressure. It's called Can-C. Take a look at that. It's CAN-C. It's the letter C, Can-C. But it's a great tool for using for eye care that I have found personally, and as I work with folks. There's another eye doctor in town. He prescribes that to his patients often and sends it to us to get it. They looked at your eye, they saw no infection. That's a good thing. So I would rule out, he did ask the question, do you have, a clogged duct? You may want to rule that out.
Actually, I asked him.
Oh, okay.
That's what I.
And he doesn't know.
No, he didn't have.
Okay. I would try Can-C. Yeah, I'd try the Can-C and see if that helps. You can also put a charcoal poultice. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a skin tag right under my eyes, bottom eyelid.
Okay.
Is there something for those?
There is.
I got natural stuff from the co-op.
Yeah, there is, but I'm real cautious at the eye.
Yes.
I don't mess with the eye. If you had a skin tag somewhere else, and there's Dr. Atkinson who taught me to do this. So you got a skin tag, and you lay the body to where the skin tag is straight up. And then you take as thin a sewing string as you can get, and you make a loop, make another loop, kind of like you do with fishing line, and lay it down on there and tighten it up. Now, Dr. Atkinson says, be careful, don't let it slip up, or you'll have this bottom part below, it will still be there. Lay it down on there, plumb against the skin. Lay it on there, and you may need to have someone do that for you. Tighten it up. She said her preference was just take a pair of scissors and clip that off. But most people don't want that. And so you just tighten it nice and taut, and it's like handling a steer. And you clip those two ends, and it will die and fall off. And it won't bleed. Do not do moles. Leave moles alone. Go to the doctor and talk. That stuff got blood in it. Be careful with moles. Do not do that with moles. But on a skin tag, it's a very easy way that Dr. Thrash would teach people to get rid of it. But on the eye, I wouldn't do that. I would go to someone that just don't mess with your eyes that kind of way. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You mentioned in the beginning with the open wound that you put the pine sap inside and then saw it. Would the pine sap dissolve in the body?
Did you say salt?
Pine sap.
Only pine sap?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Would it dissolve in the body?
Yes, the body will use it up.
Okay, so it will just eat it up.
Yeah, the body will eat it up. It's really cool stuff. It works very well. Yeah. Any other questions?
But now that it's a puncture.
Yes. Yes. Oh, and in case you weren't here earlier, if you have a puncture wound, like a nail or a cat bite or a dog bite, do not put the pine sap on it because it will heal that top so fast and it will tunnel out. Unless you can irrigate it well. Any other questions?
But if you could get the pine sap all the way down the bottom, you could put it
Absolutely.
right down the bottom.
As long as you can clean it, get in there to clean it out with peroxide or something to really clean it out with, and then you can put the pine sap down in there. On wound care, you know, healthcare, it vacillates back and forth. You know, like one side to the other. When we used to do wound care, we used to put peroxide in there every day. Every time we treated it, we put peroxide. And then they found as the tissue started healing, we were killing new tissue with putting peroxide on there every day. Then they told us, only use peroxide the first time, then never use it again. Now they're saying, well, yes, you can use it every once in a while. But peroxide is a great tool to clean that wound out.
Are your presentations on YouTube?
They are. They are. If you go to that QR, whatever, yes, QR code, and you can go there, that will take you straight to YouTube. It will take you to various places that you can watch. This presentation here, I barely even got started. There's a whole lot more to talk about that you can find on YouTube probably. If not, Mary Lou's got it on, she's got DVDs back there.
So can you bring that QR code up again?
I think most of your stuff is on Amazing Discoveries, right?
A lot of it's on Amazing Discoveries, not all, but a lot is. Yeah, there's some other things that I did with some that I've done individually or with other folks. You're welcome. That I've done with other folks that we also put up that aren't on Amazing Discoveries. But as I do new, I do more stuff on Amazing Discoveries. Yes. Any other questions?
Is there any one book that you can recommend for just getting started using?
Yes, there is. That's a good question. The first book is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. How did Jesus help people? It's very important. The kindness, the gentleness, the meekness, the compassion. Passion. Read that first. And then there's a book called Ministry of Healing. That book changed my career. I read that book, and then I compared what I was doing at work versus what that said. It's a great book. Then there's another book called Counsels on Diet and Foods. Excellent book. And then there's, if you want to learn about the brain, there's a 2-volume set that's called Mind, Character, and Personality. And when Dr. Agatha and I used to be at places and those questions would come up, she'd either be up here talking with me or she'd be out there. And I'd say, Dr. Agatha, am I right in saying do these first? And then, once you do these, compare what's in your books to what those said. And you know what she would say every time? Absolutely. And then you can then start looking at Agatha Thrash, Neil Nedley. John Harvey Kellogg has some great research. Start learning. But look, I've got a buddy, a fellow I went to school with, an old friend. We went to college together, and he owns a bunch of banks. And I was at his place just recently, and every time I go, he'll tell me as he takes me to his bank and he shows me new stuff that he's done with one of his banks. He'll remind me. Well, the first thing I do with my employees is I teach them in depth what does a real bill look like. What does the real $100 bill look like? What does the real $20 bill look like? Until they can't mistake it. Learn those first. And then when you read the other stuff, you can't mistake it. Because there's some weird stuff out there. And just because it works does not mean it's of God. And just as that lady who came in that could make things levitate, it was a health issue that someone taught her how to do something that I won't even tell you how to do it, that got her that way, that you could buy at a local health food store. And she got into that stuff. And you and I would know that that was not the right stuff to do. But just because it works doesn't mean it's of God. Any other questions? All right.
Testing? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to thank all of you for being here. I wanted to thank Walt and Mary Lou Cross for coming. We were completely blessed by the presentations and having you here with us. You're such a wonderful couple. We really are so thankful. Your ministry has been so helpful to us. And I look forward to using the information that we've been given and sharing it with the community and within our church. And I just pray that all the people here will use that in their lives. You don't have to be, we can do the one-on-one ministry. We can't do something large. You know, Jesus says, reach one. So if each one of us can do that, help someone out and bring someone into the fold, that would be such a blessing. So there are some recipes out there still and other things from the church on the table on the far left. You're welcome to take those if you'd like with you. And again, there's the love offering out there and the DVDs and the things like that that Mary Lou has out there on the table. So we're just so thankful that you came, and we hope that you'll take the opportunity to come visit our church and come and learn more. We are going to be having the Revelation series starting here on the 11th, and hope you will be able to come and spend time with us and learning more about the book of Revelation. And thank you. Have a great evening, and I Pray you all have safe travel versus home.